Please, no code names. Call me Jean.
What is up, you guys? This is All Danny Day 1 on the PS4, and I'm going to be ranking Jean Grey out of 100 points. So the 10 different areas I'm going to be scoring her in is damage output, survivability, versatility, AOE effectiveness, single target effectiveness, resource consumption, crowd control effectiveness, trials, farming effectiveness, and support effectiveness, and then she will come up with the total score. So for her damage output, I gave her a 90. The reason why I gave her a 90 is because she does have she has pretty high AOE abilities, pretty strong AOE damage over time and burst damage, but her single target damage lacks, and even at best with her AOE, it's not too high, at least from what I've experienced from my own gameplay and from what others have told me as well. Like when you compare her with Storm, or with her and Storm, Storm's DPS with her AOE is a lot stronger, damage over time, etc., etc. But I mean, I'm not comparing anyone. I'm just saying like Jean Grey's damage isn't up to par when it comes to damage over time and burst damage. But it still is a high 90 though, or it's still at a solid 90, which is a high score for the damage output. And then for her survivability, I gave her a 95. She's probably one of the highest survivable characters in the game because everything she does when she's using her Phoenix Force, she gets health on hit, and she also gets damage reduction. The only reason why you see me with a psychic in my loadout is because with the build I use for her, she's in Phoenix Force and she's gonna be floating in the air, making it hard to see her. But yeah, getting sidetracked. But yeah, with her survivability, she scored a nice 95, mid 90s. Like I said, she has one of the highest survivability in the game. Only problem with her is she doesn't have anything that can pretty much negate damage. She does have a ability that does rapid heal, but I believe that is only from using her signature. So you have to wait every time to use rapid heal, and that's about 20 to 30 seconds, whatever her cooldown is for her signature. But either way, she does have one of the highest survivabilities. Her versatility, I gave her a 95. The reason why she got a 95 in versatility is because both her psychic and her Phoenix Force abilities or build both works. The the psychic build is gonna hit a little harder. In my opinion, it's gonna hit a little harder. But the Phoenix Force, like I said, gives you much more survivability, and it still hits really high. And it applies more damage over time than her psychic build. So that's why she got a nice 95 on her versatility. Her AOE effectiveness, I gave her 100. The AOE effectiveness does not mean how much damage you can put out with AOE. It just means how how far, basically how much AOE abilities you can put out and whatnot. So she basically comes with every ability she has is AOE pretty much. She has a pretty big radius for her AOE. It's not mid range, not close range. It's pretty long ranged AOE. And yeah, that's why she got a solid 100 on her AOE effectiveness. Her single target effectiveness, though, scored an 80 just because of the fact that she doesn't have the best single targets. Now she does have not high single target damage, but she can still dish out mediocre damage against bosses. She can take out bosses pretty quick if you get her very well geared. I mean, pretty much any character, if you get them very well geared, you can take out bosses fairly fast. But with Jean Grey, if you get her, geared out well, even halfway geared out well, she can still take out bosses pretty quick. But like I said, she needs to have some type of gear, and she does lack some type of strong single target abilities. She does have strong AOE abilities, but she does lack single target abilities that apply heavy damage. And then her resource consumption, I gave her a 90. The reason why I gave her a 90 in that is because for my own experience, I never really used that much um, energy. I don't really use her resources too much. I mean, I do, but I never have a problem running out, and I don't have anything put into my resources. So, like, I don't have a Relic of Gibberim. I don't put any of my points into the infinite for her infinity points. I don't put anything in her resources. So yeah, her resource consumption is pretty like really high up there. Or she doesn't use resources as much, I suppose. Crowd control effectiveness, I gave her 100 on that because pretty much all of her abilities again have crowd control. Mainly all of her AOE abilities have crowd control, and a few of her single targets have crowd control as well. Um, and I don't mean crowd control as in just stuns and freezes, but being able to push enemies away, pull enemies is crowd control. Being able to slow your enemies and confuse enemies are also crowd control as well. So she has a bunch of crowd control abilities. And then for her trials, I gave her a 90 on her trials because she did get a bit of mixed reviews from some people, being like her being one of the harder characters to complete trials with, and some people were able to get it done in the one go. Like for I know a lot of people that were able to get it in one go, but there were a lot of people that not a lot, but a few people that had struggled maybe 5 times, but were still able to get it completed. She isn't very gear dependent when it comes to her trials. You can get it done in just a few blue items and a few purple gear with no cosmics. You can get it done. Um, I mean, with ease. Not any character you can get it done with blues and purples, but with ease, Jean Grey can get it done with ease. Um, and yeah, so she scored a 90 on that. And then farming effectiveness, I gave her an 85. The reason why I gave her an 85 is because with the way I score farming effectiveness is they get scored off of not being geared. So if you're not if your character isn't geared, you're obviously going to be farming for gear. So that counts towards her farming effectiveness. So I gave her an 85 towards that for her farming. Um, she just doesn't have strong her AOE is strong, but it's not strong enough to kill enemies in a couple seconds. Um, it's her boss damage isn't strong enough to take out the boss in a few seconds either, or less than a minute. So that's why I gave her farming effectiveness an 85.
This
She
reminds
can
me of the infinite
contribute to a
void of
team though.
space.
When you're farming in a group, she can still contribute in a team for her damage and whatnot. Um, when she's fully geared out and you're farming for artifacts, then yeah, then she can definitely put out more damage. But then again, you have to remember you need to be geared out a lot more, if you're trying to be more of an effective farmer. So for her support effectiveness, I gave her a 90. The reason why I gave her a 90 is because she has two talents that apply to your team. So she can give your team strengthen, and she can give your team rapid heal. So she can buff your team's damage and buff your team's heal regen. So that right there by itself is really good. And then I also count her crowd control as well. So characters that have high amounts of crowd control could also be considered a support character because you're able to keep the enemies controlled, with pushing them or pulling them or freezing, stunning, immobilizing, etc., etc. So that's why she scored a 90. So also another reason why she didn't get in the hundreds is because she doesn't have abilities that can consistently buff your allies or keep them shielded or healed, etc. So kind of like Doctor Strange, he can buff the team, and he can do that consistently. He can keep keep the team buffed, keep enemies controlled. He can heal allies. So with Jean Grey, she can heal allies, but it's gonna take a while. Not a while, but I believe it's every signature. Let me just check really quick. So yeah, every time you use not a signature, but Phoenix Force, you apply rapid heal to your allies. And then every time you summon your illusion, you gain strengthen for your team. So Yeah, so she got a 90 on that. So let's recap on everything she got. She was scored in. Damage output was 90. Survivability was 95. Versatility is 95. AOE effectiveness is 100. Single target effectiveness 80. Resource consumption 90. Crowd control effectiveness 100. Trials difficulty-ish type of score would be 90. Farming effectiveness 85, support effectiveness 90, and then her total score came up to a 91.5. So she scored in the 90s, meaning she is a very well-rounded character as well. Um, sh I wouldn't put her if you're a solo player. She's every character is good solo play, regardless. Some are better than others, and she's one of those characters that are better than others for solo play, just because of the fact that she has high survivability and high AOE, and doesn't use too much resources and can keep enemies crowd controlled, and you're able to pass your trials without too much problem. So, and then her farming is okay. She definitely would need to work on more farming effectiveness. If you're trying to build her for a farmer, then you definitely want to get better gear for her to do that. But other than that, yeah, she definitely scored really good. Um, Keep in mind, characters that are scored in the 80s and up, so a flat 80 and up, are really good characters. That means they're doing really strong damage. Characters that are scored in the 70s and up are above average, and then characters that are scored in the 60s and up are average or below average, basically. They're in a mix. Like 65 and up is in the average, and then under 65 is below average. So just to keep that in mind. And yeah, that's basically it for this video. If you have any questions, suggestions, let me know down in the comment section, or you can Twitter me at alldayanyday1. Um, yeah. If you like this video, go ahead and leave a like or subscribe to it so you can see future videos. And yeah, that's basically it. This is All Day Any Day 1 on the PS4. Have a good day, good night, and peace.